Now, 1 foot off center.
And now it's all gonna blow your mind.
Rick Maddison here with 1 foot off center. I have in front of me the lead pastor of Trinity Baptist.
Well, hey, nice job, pal.
We got Jeff Cox over there from Acera Insurance and Simply Benefits, and Ron Mattiussi, consultant to the stars. Hey? We have our good friends at Soil to Sod who are sponsoring this fine podcast. And breaking news, this is real. They had a development job fall through, so they have a couple windows in August to help you with your landscaping. Now, say, Scott, you were playing one-on-one basketball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Often.
You got Michael Jordan on the bench. Do you send him in? You're dang right you do. Okay. So that's the Soil to Sod people. If
How
you've got
old
to
is
win
he when I bring him up?
I would still send him in.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly,
That's
I would. So help out. Soil to Sod can help you out. Probably save your marriage too, because we have procrastinators out there that have these yard jobs that they want to do. They won't do
get
them.
done.
Jeff's not going to do them. He's not going to do them. All right. This is a hot topic. I've noticed recently, City Council continues to push through developments. Mayor and Council continues to push through developments that don't have any on-site parking. And this is and when I drive through the city, I see a lot of cars on the streets where they have developments without on-site parking. And I think residents in Kelowna are starting to go, wait a second, is this what we want? There's a provincial government pushing housing starts, so that's part of this for sure. But I wanted to open it up to our illustrious forum here. Are we going down the right avenue? And I want to start out with my good friend Ron Mattiussi, former CAO of Kelowna. Mr. Ron.
I wanted to hear what Scott was going to say. Right.
I can lock in.
As the lead pastor.
Right.
I think one of the problems you have is it's sometimes contextual, depending where the building is. The way I look at it, if you buy into a building with no parking and there's no parking around you, then you maybe made a bad decision. Unfortunately, what happens is when those kind of buildings get built near an existing neighborhood, they just suck up all the parking, and that's a big problem. I think looking back, the city all the way back into mid-90s, we subscribed to the notion that transportation demand management. The harder it gets to get around, the more people will take transit. I mean, that's the theory. Works great in Victoria, works great in the Metro, where they have an amazing transit system and super high densities with enough people that can actually make that work. Kelowna is one of the hardest cities to run a transit system because we have the ALR. So, I think somewhere in the middle is probably a better solution than to buy in that somehow everybody in a building with no parking is going to be taking transit or walking. I mean, it's a great theory. I'm a planner. It's a great theory. I'm not sure it works.
Somewhere in the middle. Mr. U. Cox.
Ron's exactly right. The ideology is genius until you got to take your kids to hockey practice in January. And that's the part that doesn't make sense. Christia Freeland's dad can't believe she doesn't own a car. And he also can't believe that she has a private car service. I mean, it's the insanity, right, of politicians that get me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in a city like ours. Again, when you talk about public transit, there's public transit, and then there's public transit in Metro, and then there's public transit in places like Europe or Asia, which some of you guys have been, and you realize that we're in the Stone Age in a lot of our life. But it comes back to more, it's the domino effect. So the idea that, Ron, you're right. You rent or buy a place that doesn't have parking. That is your choice until it's not your choice because you've got nowhere to live with your kids. So you make that decision, and then you've got to park a car 4 blocks away, or you don't have a car because you don't have parking, and then your kids don't play sports, and then some ideological politician stands in front of the TV and says, we don't have enough low-income kids playing sports. I fully agree, and you're not helping them because you're not allowing their single parent to buy a car to get them there. I get that's a little bit extreme, but so is what they're talking about, right? And that's the part to me that it just, again, common sense to me says that that you've got to find that happy medium. I don't know what it is. I'm with you. I mean, we've as we build density, there are going to be places where parking is going to be a challenge. I also find it super ironic that although Ron Canyon is super popular just by his electoral numbers, gets lambasted by the media in this city because he brings this up and then gets listed as this like anti-developer, which he's not. And I just find it ironic. Like, he brings a lot of legitimate concerns that absolutely get smoked by most coverage in this city. And I'm like, man, Ron's making a lot of sense to me on that topic. I mean, I'm ranting, but I just feel like
The first part wasn't.
But that's why we love you on the podcast.
But this is just where, and now it's, common sense. Oh, the guys are conservative. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just, again, that's just a basic function of life to say, hey, if you're going to take an 11-year-old to hockey in January, you're not doing it on the bus, right? I don't think functionally it's going to work at my house. But maybe David Evie does. And I can't wait for that. David Evie.
I
Maybe
can't
Dave
wait
does.
for the head
That could be
pastor's
a
thoughts on
T-shirt.
this.
That could be a T-shirt. I think we actually, I think there are some unique situations like taking your kid to hockey at minus 20. We're in a convenience is king culture, and you find it everywhere. Like if I offered you a premium first class seat on an airplane versus the the back of the plane, you're going to take it first class every time. We love convenience. We love, like, how many more complications to the parking come from our dear friends from Uber and Skip the Dishes. Like, no disrespect, but they're always trying to find spots. They're always trying to do things. We have at said church where I work, we've got a utility that works beside us, and we have a mall. They don't have parking, so our parking lot has north of about 120 cars that park there that aren't staff every day. And that's because they literally have no place to park. I don't know what they would do. And so not only is the issue of the new developments, I think it's past that lack the capacity. And then if you live in the Mission, I've been counting all the units that are building, and I'm like, I don't think parallel parking on the street is going to cover enough of these things. And then you look at the one development, that has that huge 6-story concrete parkade that's still unused, even though there's people moving in there. And I'm like, I don't understand some of what the logic and the mentality is when it comes to that, because I think people they want convenience. Even if you offer them transit in Kelowna, I'm not sure they're going to take it. And people want the accessibility now. And so I think if they go, I have to wait for this person, even commuting with, we used to try and share with when my kids are playing hockey of like, hey, you pick up, I'll pick up. And even people aren't, it still gets and cramps the style a little bit. And so I think it's an intense issue. And we have, I think, 8,700 new builds in the next 5 years that the provincial government has said for Kelowna. And they said we're already 38% of the way there. Like, we've already kind of, that's in year one of where we're at. And the latest data said we're at about 85% of those builds are multifamily. So I just don't think it's getting any less. And so I don't disagree that Ron really noted it. And I think maybe there's fear in politics now to kind of go, well, should I actually put my name out there associated to something because I'm going to get slaughtered?
But isn't it a download? Like, we're downloading a problem to future generations, and it feels like that. And don't get me wrong, I get the fact that we're trying to save costs. We're trying to save developer costs, which hopefully end up in the consumer's hands, where you have less on-site parking. So ostensibly, you would have a less cost to the build, less cost per door, less DCCs, all this kind of stuff. So then you build accessible housing, but it's close to transit. So from the provincial government side of things, they're like, okay, that's great because that's what we want. But I think they're using it through the lens of Vancouver, Victoria. Doesn't it feel like that to you?
Victoria, I think, was one of the first places that really had parts of their downtown that had zero requirements for parking. And you could do that in a downtown, right? Because you have lots of on-street parking, you have parkades that get built. So I think Victoria, of course, the same council, I think, said it was okay to let people sleep in cars and parkades. So I'm not sure. But what you see, and you touched on it, and it could have been in your reference to Christopher Elan, but somewhere in there was, what I've seen over the years is, we adopt these policies because elected people go to conferences in Victoria and get told this is wonderful, and then want to apply it, not thinking that you have a very different context, right? And so we get a lot of, let's do that too. Well, that's cool. Well, look, we'll be greener because we'll ban cars. We'll do this. And again, there's a reality of life in Kelowna, I think, that is different than life in Victoria or life. And again, do I like it when I see people zipping down the street in those silly little scooters? Yeah, because it's kind of cool. I mean, I've seen people go down the street in briefcases on a scooter, and that's different. But is that going to be everybody's solution? No. A little hard to go to Costco, right?
100%.
And so I think there has to be a balance, and there has to be a reality check that comes into it. And I'm really worried. I see neighborhoods where you can't. There's no, you couldn't park if you wanted to, and we used to worry about that around the hospital. We used to control parking, and it's a hospital. Like anywhere you want to let people park, that would be it, right?
It's the other part of it too. The irony of, because you just brought something up that piqued something for me. Besides the fact that you're right, how do you get to Costco? How do you do a number of things that people are going to rely on a car for? We've done a masterful job in this province of beating down any new innovation or technology around things like rideshare. I mean, we were explaining to someone a year ago from the Midwest that like we're getting Uber in our city, and they were like, "Where do you live?" Like honestly, like they're like, "Do you have dog sleds?" Like it was, and it was like, no, like. So that's socialism at its best. And they're like, well, why? Like they couldn't connect the dots. Why? We've done the exact same thing to rideshare programs. So, to car share programs. They've epically failed here. Well, they've expanded everywhere else, mostly because of government regulation. The fact that we don't have a feasible insurance product because we're all forced to buy the same thing. Like, there are a number of things we're doing also to not help the situation. And again, I think I could be more open to it if it felt like there were other pieces that were coming together.
If the other tools were there, if the other options were there and readily available.
Yeah.
Do you think our transit system should we build out the transit first and then dive into this, Scott?
I think Ron made the point of, our transit system is at a deficit. I don't know. It feels a bit of the chicken and the egg. You're assuming if you build out the transit that people are going to take transit, but if that's not a viable option, as Jeff and Ron have already noted to be true, why are they going to take it? Like if they've got, if it's single parent trying to even, like I watch some of those single parents that are taking the bus and they are trying to, you have to be so mindful of the groceries you're gathering. You can only do one at a time. You're not doing things. And then what happens if you have to take to a medical appointment or a doctor? And then the limits on transit as far as how they run and how often they run. Those are all mitigating factors of whether it's going to be feasible or not. And so, yeah, absolutely. I lived in, Richmond and on the West Coast in Ladner, and the transit system was fantastic. We could take it to ball games because you could. It was just available. And then, on high events, they would just do it for free. Same in Calgary. They would, but they have a strong, sustainable system that they're continuing to build out. And we were just in Alberta. They took the ring road, and that ring road is golden now that you can kind of go from one end of the city to the other. But, I just don't think that mentality is here and has been thought through when it comes to the parents trying to take their kids, when it comes to the people trying to get to the store. And so I think, yes, build the transit, but there has to be other, I think, contributing factors, kind of like the scope of a wagon wheel. You got the hub and there's all these spokes that feed into it. Well, it's multifaceted, that we have to have a holistic approach, including creative solutions.
We have a good mainline transit system. So if you're going from West Kelowna to downtown to the hospital, UBC, the airport, it's a great system.
Right.
And I look out my window, a bus stop right below, and I dare say that a lot of people say, well, I saw a bus going by McCullough and it was empty, and yeah, that could be the case. But you look at any 8 till 4 or 5. You look at Saturday morning. I took it one time Saturday morning. I just a matter of blocks, but it was filled with people going to work.
Oh, yeah.
And that, and so it's providing a good service, but until we build the density up, it'll be that point-to-point mainline kind of service. It's not going to service Kettle Valley that easily, right?
No, and to your point, though, in those core routes, OC, UBC, downtown, I'm with you. I mean, I see the double-deckers go past jammed at 7:30 in the morning. I go, okay, that's working. But I just think there's other ways. Listen, are we going to build the train system that exists in almost every European country in this city tomorrow? No. And we've not set aside the land to do it anyway. So, where are you going to put a train line down Pandosy that turns into Lakeshore? So now you're going to be half a kilometer up, and now we're going to cut through ALR, and then we're going to be faced with those challenges, and it goes on and on and on. Now, I mean, but we are a tourist city. I mean, why don't we have a trolley hub for 8 months a year that runs from downtown to
the Eldorado? No.
Yeah, well, maybe a little farther. Yeah. But I mean, it might alleviate. I mean, have you ever tried to get from the Eldorado to the highway at 3 o'clock on any given day right now? I mean, you almost go backwards. You're going so slow, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there are, and it's just starting. You have all the buildings that are going up around Gyro, which I agree with. Like, that's great high density. That's great high density buildings. But I don't know how we're going to get people in and out of there, let alone where they're going to park.
So, Ron, years ago, we were talking about a convention center, and you and I were chatting about the fact that we needed, there's been talk about we need to build out a convention center so we can be a hub for these massive conferences. And you said there's one big question to that whole thing. How do you move people around the city? And that was the major inhibitor, you thought, to building that out. So if we did have, 10,000 square foot, conference center, great. Now what?
Yeah, the different when Penticton looked at making a bigger convention center, one of the things that was going to stifle it was you could only bring so many people in by plane. And if you want to be a national or international convention center, you got to move in a lot of people by air. And we just don't have most flights today, WestJet, if it's 85%, it's not 85% full, they'll cancel it, right?
We have absolutely amazing airline options in this country. It's phenomenal. Yeah. Two.
It was dripping with sarcasm as soon as the first vowel came out of his mouth.
It's like, again, it just goes on. Regulation at its best.
But in terms of should we be building apartments and housing that don't have parking? And I think the answer is it's got to be realistic, because at this point in time, given our culture, not that we shouldn't aspire to that, and all you have to do is cut down the number of people traveling by car, is raise the price of gas. Good liberal. I just don't even. I couldn't resist that.
1 foot off center.
I couldn't resist that.
The elbows up crowd.
Yeah, I just couldn't resist that. I think there is a real problem. That you are putting a lot of cars. The reality is people have cars. That's the reality.
Yep.
And you're going to have to deal with that somehow. And these high rises, I keep telling people they're not housing. That's investment real estate. That's not housing. There's some people that live in there, but we're going to have this big correction now as the investment dries up in those types of units. And I think the sooner the development industry can focus on providing housing, like real houses for real people, rather than strictly investment vehicles. Yeah, I think so, better.
And I was just thinking about this, but what if you were to go out and say, so I'm going to use that same area I was talking about, because I go through there regularly. So Gyro Beach, of 2 new towers, Caban and Moval, I think, and there's a Shoppers Drug Mart with a parking lot in front of it. Great. Why not? So why would we not conceptually think about trying to put a 4-story parkade there to service that area? Save On has a pretty significant parking lot about another 100 meters from there. Why are we not looking to do a couple story? Like it's not like we can still find solutions and get creative, but I don't hear anybody talking about that. Again, it comes back to it. No.
We used to do cash and live, and that just slowly went away. But at that point in time, they would say, okay, you can't put parking, then you have an option to provide costs of those parking. Somebody has to provide parking somewhere that they can go into a pool and then make that kind of deal where you have some. So I think you're right. I think there are options. Why they're not being followed up, I don't know.
Because I think the ideology is if we don't build parking, people won't drive. And I think that's the insanity that has to stop.
See no evil, hear no evil.
Right.
Scott?
Yeah. That's well played, Rick. I'm surprised you knew that. Where's that found, by the way?
Well, I didn't know this was a trigger subject for you with 120 cars that are parking on some.
On our property.
You get paid for that?
No.
Cash in lieu.
We're a good neighbor, let me tell you right now. Like that. Well, we have a working deal with our utility.
One of the best neighbors, apparently.
Do you have any spots available?
That's right. We do. Come on down. We can transit from there. Hey, that's a great idea.
You lead pastors.
I know.
That's
We're all
why.
like
That's why.
So if just to summarize it, if this came in front of council, our vote would be what? To say, push it back and have
Something.
something.
Find solutions.
Be creative.
Yeah.
Be courageous to be creative. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, listen, I hope that going forward, just because, like I said, when I drive through the city, you can see where these developments exist. And I do hope that at some point we do find a happy medium. That word came up quite a few times, happy medium. And I don't know, if the constituents are going to push back against that coming into another election cycle. So anyway, we are 1 foot off center. Thank you again for watching and listening, and we'll be back.